Welcome to Okori Trees by Wesley Claxton. Our mission is simple: provide the beauty and benefits of trees across California by providing citizens easier access for planting. Many citizens may not physically be able or capable of, or otherwise capable of planting trees themselves, thus stripping them of the chance to get these benefits from trees, which is where our service comes in with our ability to plant trees for these people when they make requests. Now, first off, why trees? Trees have a variety of well-known emotional and physical benefits, such as, but not limited to, cooling the area by around 10 degrees Fahrenheit, filtering the air by capturing smog and releasing fresh air, conserving energy by decreasing air conditioning needs, and helping to prevent soil erosion and water pollution. Now that you know why trees are necessary, here's how our program aims to help citizens like you plant trees all around your neighborhood. Citizens will be able to become volunteers with only an email, password, and their zip code. From there, they'll be able to see volunteer work around them, request trees to be planted on their property, and view statistics on trees in neighborhoods. The goal of the system is to help citizens who may not be physically, mentally, or economically able to plant and care for trees. Such citizens would not have access to the wide array of benefits that trees bring. Thus, the system utilizes capable volunteers and planting leaders to bring the planting to you. The average request will simply need a location, and a team leader will visit for a preliminary inspection to ensure that water pipes and local flora and fauna aren't damaged by the planting, and to recommend the specific tree species based on their idea of the environment. Users will also need to show proof of permit for planting the tree, which the system will help them procuring when the team leader visits. Once the team leader assesses the situation well, they'll get a group of volunteers together and spend an afternoon or two planting the tree. Small but important information. Volunteers will submit observation reports and photos that can be viewed later. Users can view the status of their request whenever they like online. A user can utilize a search function to search for neighborhoods or species of trees and gather facts about them, such as the number of trees planted in a neighborhood or the most of a species planted in a year. This is my UML diagram, and this is my relational model. I won't spend too much time looking at them because you can probably just look at the PDF if you need them. Data sources. The aim of the database is to store requests and update the data within when a new request is made. However, the data from before the service was made, such as the number of trees planted in previous years, would come from websites like City of Oakland Gov, government websites, or local sources with as much vetting as need be. Earlier years in data may require lots more digging than recent years, as there is likely less information of plantings in the past, but the team will do its best to get accurate information on the website as efficiently as possible. For example, we might not have information from 1997 about oak trees that were planted in San Francisco, but we would do our best with what we know, and anything that happens, any request after the website is actually online will be updated within its database so that for posterity. Many of the key relationships are also abstract in some sense. For example, a user's zip code may include two neighborhoods. In cases like those, we use the most likely result, such as how it's very unlikely that someone may have two neighborhoods in their zip code, or how it's unlikely for someone to make multiple requests to the same location. We tried to use benefit of the doubt, which is to say that we assumed that in situations like these, we went with the most common option, which we're assuming that nobody's going to have two neighborhoods in their zip code or make multiple requests at the same time. Of course, if it comes to that, then we can deal with it. But the majority of people aren't going to experience that situation, to say. And miscellaneous but important information. The website will likely be updated only a few times a day as to not prevent lots of buffering whenever new information is added or a request is sent or updated. So, for example, if 100 people even in an hour make a request, and we have to go through, update all that information in the database. If we then push that to the website every time that the database is updated, then we would have to re-update the page at least 100 times, assuming that people, again, don't make multiple requests or something like that, which would cause a lot of buffering and lag for the people who are trying to actually make the requests, because and it's stuff that they wouldn't really need to see, because if you update a request, you're not going to look at other people's requests. You're going to only look at yours. And so why would you, it wouldn't affect them. It's not important information to the user who's submitting a request that 100 other people are also submitting a request at the same time. Of course, we'll update like the database and like a store of numbers of how many saplings and such we have, so that way people can't request saplings that we don't have enough of. But stuff that isn't important information like that wouldn't necessarily need to be updated every single second. Like on Amazon, they don't update the website or force people to reload the website every time somebody makes an order. Anyway, the number of trees planted in certain years will likely have to be a best estimate, as there's no way of telling exactly how many were planted. This comes with the territory of the past years because, of course, trees die. They might be chopped down for logs or for other needs. They might be replanted. We don't have very accurate data from those previous years. Like, we don't know how many oak trees were planted in 1997, but we can make an estimate, which is what we'll likely have to do, because while we might mention, because we can go to a city or somewhere and count, oh, this is how many oak trees there are, this is how many willow trees there are, and update that information accurately. When we have to calculate, like, this is the number of oak trees that exist in this environment or that have been planted in the most populated year, of course, assuming that year isn't recent, where we would actually have information on the year, it would likely have to be a best estimate. Like, oh, we estimated that around 2,000 oak trees were planted in 1972 in this area, because, again, we have no way of knowing, because people in the past aren't going to log every single tree, pun not intended, that they plant. But of course, there will likely still be some around if they're like redwood trees or oak trees, but there's no saying that they'll actually have an accurate number, which is why, of course, there'll be a disclaimer, but it'll be a best estimate of the number of trees rather than just being a flat out number of the exact trees. And then all trees used